Happy holidays. Let's talk about zero trust. So first off, let's be honest about this, right? This is not zero trustworthy. This is not saying that people, that your users, that business people, that folks that you interact with on a human level, whatever else, are not worthy of trust. No one is saying that. That's not part of the common conversation. That's just not it. What we're talking about is removing installed, inherent, configured default trust from within systems. Now, sometimes that might mean you have to not trust what users do within those systems because people, statistically, historically, have proven that they cause compromises, and it is a requirement to better secure an enterprise to remove inherent trust from those users so that you can more effectively control what they are doing, engage them better in the enterprise, and eliminate the likelihood of threats based on what those users do. But it is not saying don't trust people. Trust people if you want to trust people. There are other issues with that, in my opinion, but trust people if you want to trust people. That is not what this is about. This is about removing trust from within systems. There are lots and lots of definitions. There are tons of research papers out there about what a trusted system is. There's stuff about what trust is within information systems and IT systems. There's volumes of material about it. The reality of what we're talking about here in Zero Trust is removing inherent, default, configured trust from within systems. You see this daily when you use a networked or IT system. Go buy something from Best Buy or wherever that has a NIC in it, bring it home, fire it up and send some electrons and watch what happens. It starts trying to connect with things in your network because of the default nature of that system, because it's looking for connections. Connections equal risk. And a lot of times, most of the time, what you get with those systems is that they are doing things that they probably don't need to do. If you remove that excess access, excess privilege, those other things, that installed, inherent, connected trust, you help eliminate the risk from it. You will never get to zero. Okay, that's perfectly valid. That is absolutely correct. No one will ever get to zero trust in any IT system, period, ever, from here till the end of time. I agree. Just like professional bodybuilders will never get to zero body fat because they die. However, part of their movement towards that end state that they're trying to get to, it means that they drag themselves down that path. They're getting towards zero. Everyone is correct that you will never get to zero trust. Fair. Agreed. But think about the value that you can have from using a simple two-word strategic statement to help people understand what is going on in systems and the security approach that you're taking to help better defend that enterprise. If you can think of something better than two words when you're really talking about removing trust from systems, then zero trust, let me know. Matter of fact, here, I'll wait. Okay, I'm done waiting. My guess is it's pretty hard to come up with something more simple than two words that deal with the realities of what we're removing and what we're doing within computer security. Cyber hygiene, that word's been around, that term's been around for a long time. Everyone thinks it's kind of dumb. You're not really hygiening anything up really necessarily. You are removing trust, especially inherent, default, configured, connection-oriented trust from systems. Unless you remove it, in most instances, it is trusted by default. This is where compromise goes from bad to worst. Look at the history of exploitation. Go back and look at it from all the way from the 60s to today. You've got 50 something, or in some cases more, years of proof that this is where things go wrong. Also, on top of that, when you look at what happens with exploitation, usually the point of entry is not the end goal of the adversary. I get into a system and I do things, but everyone talks about this, right? The cyber kill chain and all other bullshit that floats around out there. You go from this, you get to there. How do you do it? You move within a system. How do you move within a system? You leverage trusted relationships, trusted connections, excess privileges, all those things, all that inherent, built, configured, default stuff is what you leverage to get past it, to get past the defenses. That's what you use. History tells us this. We have decades of proof. You can call this anything you want. If it's your organization and it's your strategy and whatever else, you can call it whatever you want. The industry, the market has just accepted that zero trust strategically, simplicity makes sense, right? People get this when you explain this to them. Call it whatever you want. You can do that. This works in lots of other ways when you look at strategy, right? I don't think it's smart to fight when there's a global movement towards this going on, but if you want to change it up, call it whatever you want, call it cyber hygiene, call it super amazing, awesome cybersecurity, Machiavellian removal of trust, blah, blah, like whatever you want to call it. Zero trust makes sense because you're trying to get to zero trust within those systems, but it's your strategy. Call it whatever you want. Two words can be used very well when you think about employing strategy and getting people to understand what you're talking about without adding in lots of complexity. Think about this. Two words: eat healthy. I don't have to tell you that the correct application of macronutrients within that is typically considered to be 40, 35, 25 for protein, fats, and carbs. I have to tell you that you should be drinking 64 ounces of water a day. No. There's hundreds of things that you can do when you get into this whole strategy of eating healthy. But if I just say eat healthy, you understand what that means. Buckle up. Two words: buckle up. No one has to really think about what that means, why there is all this other stuff around it. No one has to think about, well, if I don't wear a seatbelt, I'm 47% more likely to die in a car wreck based on the fatality numbers. All these other things that go on. Two things, very simple: buckle up. Wear masks. Two simple words that are strategically being used right now to get everyone to understand what you need to do to lessen the risk from COVID. Right? If you wear a mask, there's lots of data, lots of information, lots of things out there that say that you are, 50% less likely to catch COVID and 3x less likely to transmit it if you're asymptomatic, all the science behind it, blah, blah, blah. There's all those other things. But if you say simply, wear masks, people understand that. They get it. Zero trust. You're trying to get to zero. You never will, but you can try. And you are removing trust from within systems. This is it. This is what it is. We've had all the other stuff. We've had expense in depth. We've had defense in depth. We've had blah, blah, blah. We've had all this other stuff. But in reality, the physics of the problem, where compromise goes from bad to worse, the proliferation of threats, all these other things, and you have thousands of examples of where this goes really, really wrong, really, really quickly, boils down to what you must approach within a system to actually remediate the issue. And it is the removal of trusted connections and trusted configurations and default trust within systems. So just accept that for what it is. You are working to eliminate trust from within those systems.